Welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 419, Caterpie's Big Dilemma. The episode begins with Ash and the gang very tired as they walk through a forest on their way to Saffron City. Ash was so lost in this forest that he started to forget where they were even heading in the first place, so May had to remind him that they were heading to Saffron City for her first contest. Specifically, they were going to Saffron City's contest hall for May's first contest in Kanto. Unfortunately, thinking of the contest only made Ash and the gang even more depressed, because they thought that they would never actually get to Saffron City and would never make it out of this forest. But just then, they got a bit of hope, as Max pointed out something in the distance, which was a large radio tower peeking out over the trees. Brock, thinking that maybe they could contact someone on the radio tower to help them find a way out of the forest or some shit, suggested that they go to the tower, and Ash agreed. Very hyped to do so. Before Ash and the gang could move even a little bit towards the radio tower, though, a small Caterpie then emerged from the bushes in front of them, and it was screaming loudly, shocking Ash and the gang, especially Brock, since the Caterpie reminded him of Misty Sphere bug types. May, however, was less scared of the Caterpie and more so intrigued by checking her Pokédex to learn more about it. The Caterpie continued to scream, which was revealed to be a call for its trainer, a small boy named Xander, having jumped down from a ledge. And he seemed to be as angry as the Caterpie, since he believed Ash and the gang to be thieves. So, Xander has his Caterpie use a string shot on Ash and the gang to capture them inside the string shot. Ash and the gang protest, trying to explain that they were not thieves, but Xander didn't believe them, and he just had Caterpie continue to trap them in string shot. Ash continues to protest his and his friend's innocence, but Xander doesn't believe them at all, claiming that he knew they stole something inside a lab of some kind. Just then, Ash and the gang and Xander were distracted as they heard a very loud voice coming from above them, and when they looked up, they saw a professor of some kind flying down towards them with a jetpack-like mechanism that was basically mechanical wings. Although this professor also had something on his head as well. He then introduced himself as Professor Gordon, otherwise known as Dr. Gordon. Dr. Gordon also had some sort of device on his head too. He was fucking filled with devices, but according to Dr. Gordon, this device acted as a monitor that could show the future somehow. Right as Dr. Gordon activates this future sight machine, he sees an image of a man waiting for Ash and the gang with a limousine, and comes to the conclusion that Ash and the gang better go to the limousine that was waiting for them. Ash and the gang tried their best to deny this, but Dr. Gordon just goes on and on about how fucking cool his future sight invention was. But eventually, when Ash and the gang get a chance to talk, they explain that they had no fucking limousine and were just travelers on their way to Saffron City. The professor and Xander realize their mistake, and Xander immediately apologizes to Ash and the gang for accusing them of being intruders, explaining that he was just trying to protect the professor's laboratory and the area around it, which the professor liked to use for his experiment. Although Ash stated that he didn't know that professors were allowed to basically use entire areas outside of their actual laboratory as research fields, like entirely dedicated to themselves, but Xander confirmed this. Xander and the professor then decided to make it up to Ash and the gang by taking them to the professor's lab after freeing them from the Caterpie's string shot, and from there, Ash and the gang formally introduced themselves. And Ash, even though he couldn't actually see anything the lab had developed yet, continued to assure Xander and the professor that he wouldn't dream of harming or stealing anything from the lab, nor would his friends. Max and Ash then comment that Caterpie was pretty cool, and Caterpie blushed upon hearing this, because didn't hear that often, because, it was a goddamn Caterpie. Xander thanked Ash and Max for the compliment as well, and thanked Ash for a second compliment that he did, which was complimenting Caterpie's strong string shot. Xander then clarified that Caterpie was his first Pokemon, his starter technically, and he planned to go on a journey with it soon. Although, he clarified that he wouldn't be going on a journey quite yet, because he was currently at Dr. Gordon's lab, studying to become a Pokemon trainer under Dr. Gordon's teachings. Also revealing that Dr. Gordon made a ton of great inventions, not just the Future Sight one that Ash and the gang had seen earlier. May doubted this, since she didn't think Dr. Gordon's Future Sight invention was impressive at all, so she doubted that he could possibly have any other impressive inventions. But it was then that Dr. Gordon himself jumped in to explain to Ash and the gang that he did make a ton of inventions with the purpose of making the lives of humans and Pokemon easier. He then promises to show Ash and the gang his inventions as he presses a button from a wall in his lab, which raised a strange contraption from a nearby pool of water in his lab. And as the contraption reached the surface of the water, it opened up, revealing a whole bunch of inventions, which were based on Pokemon and their abilities and characteristics, according to Dr. Gordon. Ash and the gang, including May, were amazed as they examined several of the Pokemon-based inventions, including one that resembled a Magnemite, Gramble, Machop, Wailmer, Spoink, and Machoke, and a Jigglypuff. The doctor then takes the invention that looked like a Jigglypuff, which actually revealed that it was a microphone with a Jigglypuff figurine on top of it. Dr. Gordon was initially going to demonstrate the Magnemite massaging chair, but he decided on demonstrating the Jigglypuff microphone by singing into it, and instantly he started to yawn and fall asleep as a result, just like a regular Jigglypuff melody. Since Gordon had designed it to basically have the person's voice who was singing into the microphone sound like a Jigglypuff's voice, but only to the singer somehow. Xander was amazed by this, but didn't want Gordon to continue to sleep while they had guests, Ash and the gang, so Xander quickly tried to wake the professor up. Meanwhile, Team Rocket happened to be spying at the exact moment that Xander was trying to wake Professor Gordon, utilizing their binoculars to do so. And as the three of them appeared in the lab, Meowth and James became very excited, seeing all the inventions and potentially stealing them for themselves, with James stating that the inventions could definitely assist Team Rocket. And Meowth suggested that Team Rocket should either steal the original inventions or steal the blueprints so that they could make the inventions themselves. Although Jessie remained skeptical about going after the inventions, reminding Meowth and James that Caterpie was scary and could hurt them, as it had hurt them last night when it attacked them with a string shot, tying them up in the process, indicating that they had actually tried to break into the lab last night. Maybe that's why Xander was so upset about protecting it. Anyways, James and Meowth just shrugged past Jessie's concerns, with Meowth stating that the invention blueprints would be worth the trouble they were going through to get them, because it could really help Team Rocket, as they had said before. And James also added that, unlike last time, where they broke in without a plan, now they had a plan. And Meowth confirmed this, stating that they would sneak in and take the blueprints, while Ash and the gang, Dr. Gordon and Xander, were all distracted. So, without further ado, Team Rocket managed to sneak into the lab. As for Ash and the gang, Xander and Dr. Gordon, they were now just outside Dr. Gordon's lab, with Ash and the gang about ready to leave now, because they had no reason to stay, with Dr. Gordon showing them the closest way to Saffron City from where they were now. So with that, it was time for Ash and the gang to say their goodbyes to Xander and Gordon. During the goodbyes, May explained that she was going to Saffron for the upcoming contest, and Zachary wished May luck in this contest, so May thanked him. Just then, though, Caterpie started to freak out, indicating that it sensed something and ran off by itself, leaving Ash and gang, Gordon, and Zachary wondering what the fuck was up with it. Although Gordon suggested that they follow wherever the Caterpie was going, and Xander agreed, as did Ash and the gang. So they all ran after Caterpie together, with Ash not able to resist, not helping a potentially dangerous scenario involving Caterpie, or just anything for that matter. Although Gordon and Xander went off first, so Ash and the gang followed after them. Eventually, Caterpie happens to make its way into the lab, where Team Rocket already were, taking as much as they could in terms of blueprints, talking about all the extremely fun and glorious adventures they could have together, and now that they had infinite blueprints, basically. Just as Meowth was about to head out with his bag of blueprints, and Jessie and James were about to head out with their handfuls of blueprints, though, it was then that Caterpie found Team Rocket, and Caterpie was soon joined by Ash and the gang, Gordon, and Xander. Dr. Gordon asks Ash and the gang if Team Rocket were their friends, but they obviously deny this, saying that they would never steal stuff from the lab. Ash and May then yelled at Team Rocket, demanding them to give back the blueprints, but Team Rocket refused, which led Gordon and Xander to come to the conclusion that Caterpie must battle Team Rocket to get revenge for the lab, although Ash and the gang were not too sure due to how weak Caterpie was. But regardless, Xander told Caterpie to get ready and told it to attack Team Rocket. In retaliation, Jessie sent out Viper, which immediately stands over it menacingly and prevents it from attacking Jessie, James, and Meowth. With Caterpie not able to stop Viper or Team Rocket, Meowth quickly ran into the window and told Jessie and James to hurry the fuck up and leave immediately with the blueprints. However, just as James was leaving, he spotted an important-looking orange briefcase and grabbed it before he and Jessie ran off with Meowth, even though Gordon was begging them to stop getting away. Dr. Gordon then hurriedly informs Xander and Ash and the gang about the fact that the suitcase James had just made off with contained his most important invention, and he didn't want anything bad to happen to it. So Xander quickly had his Caterpie use a string shot to grab a hold of it, snatching it out of James' hands. Jessie gets mad at this, knowing what was in the briefcase now, so she quickly tells Viper to go up to Caterpie and bite away the string shot, and Viper does so, stealing the briefcase in the process. Ash knew that Xander and Dr. Gordon needed some help fast now, so he told Pikachu to get into the action with a quick attack. So Pikachu obliged, smashing into Viper, sending it and the briefcase flying, and the force of the briefcase smashing into the ground causes it to open up, and what was inside spilled everywhere. What was inside, you may ask? Several small blue balls that kind of look like berries. Caterpie seemed to be hungry and was by the berries, so it quickly ate them, or at least one of them, much to Gordon's dismay, as he screamed and screamed and screamed in fear. The reason for this was because Caterpie started to glow and grew larger and larger and larger, eventually bigger than anyone in the entire room, and up towards the lab ceiling. Caterpie's glow then faded, but it was still large as fuck, which made Team Rocket extremely worried, as they all begged Caterpie not to hurt them, but Caterpie refused and took the opportunity to tackle Team Rocket, sending them flying out of the lab window and blasting off. And also, they happened to drop the blueprints back inside the lab, so they didn't get away with any. Yay! Xander then walks over to his Caterpie, wondering what the fuck happened to Caterpie, leaving Gordon to explain. Although, before Dr. Gordon could explain, Brock butted in first, and stated his belief that Caterpie had turned big due to the berries actually being something called rare candy. But Dr. Gordon clarifies that his invention was actually Rare Candy Complete. Although Gordon did admit that the Rare Candy Complete was what was responsible for Caterpie's sudden new strength and great size, since the Rare Candy Completes were supposed to act as multivitamins to increase or even maximize a Pokemon's potential. Although Dr. Gordon had no clue that a Pokemon would really grow to the size that Caterpie had, Xander then begged Dr. Gordon to help him return his Caterpie back to normal, leading Gordon to admit that while he wasn't 100% sure that he could get Caterpie back to normal, he would try his absolute hardest to figure out a way to solve the problem and get Caterpie back to normal as best he can. Xander thanks him for this, but just then, Caterpie started to glow and increase in size once again, now breaking through the ceiling of the lab. May then suggests that Xander should return Caterpie to its Pokeball, but Xander reveals that Caterpie was technically not even his official Pokemon, because he never caught it in a Pokeball. Caterpie then becomes so large that it fully breaks through the roof, leading Ash and the gang to run outside, fearing for their safety, as the lab started to shake because of this, and they also wanted to go after Caterpie, since Caterpie's head was now seen out of the lab, and it was going down away from the lab, even as Xander called for it to come back, because Caterpie seemed to be so big and so high up that they couldn't even hear him. Eventually, as Caterpie continued, now going down the street, far away from the lab, it ran toward a nearby tower, the one that Ash and the gang saw before they were attacked by Xander and his Caterpie. Ash and the gang try to catch up to Caterpie, along with Xander and Gordon, by running after it, and they eventually see that the radio tower was actually in an entire town, and upon seeing the gigantic Caterpie approach, the entire town started to go into panic, and someone in the town sounded a town-wide alarm on the town speaker, while Caterpie stampedes through the streets, even having enough power to break through a bridge in the city. While all the humans continued to run, Dr. Gordon, however, got an idea when Ash and the gang, he and Xander, ran into the town, revealing that he had taken one of his inventions with him, a Machoke suit, which Ash and the gang had just seen the head of earlier, and Dr. Gordon revealed that this Machoke suit had the ability to increase someone's strength by a factor of 10. Basically, Machoke-like strength. Not only that, but Dr. Gordon's speed was increased to that of a Machoke's as well. So because of this, he was able to find a wagon and told Ash and the gang and Xander to get in, and he pulled it along the street so that Ash and the gang and Xander could catch up to him as he ran as fast as he could towards Caterpie. Dr. Gordon was getting a little tired, but May begged him to keep going to save Caterpie, and Xander did too, so he persevered. Caterpie then arrived at the radio tower, immediately followed by Ash and the gang, while Xander demanded that Caterpie stop, since he didn't want a huge Caterpie to cause a whole bunch of destruction. But once again, his Caterpie didn't listen and started to climb anyways. Leaving Ash and the gang, Xander and Dr. Gordon shocked at how fast Caterpie was able to crawl up the tower. Of course, the force of such a huge Pokemon crawling on the tower causes half of the tower to break off from the rest, while Caterpie was halfway up the tower. This fallen part of the tower ends up landing in the town, causing a bit of damage. But after this, Caterpie then stops to rest on the midpoint of the tower, which was the new top point, because the rest was destroyed. Officer Jenny, seeing the destruction that was being caused, rushed to the scene and asked Gordon if Caterpie was big because of one of his experiments, believing this to be the case, and Gordon confirmed this, admitting that the situation was all his fault. Because of this, Dr. Gordon felt very bad and was having a bit of a mental breakdown, while Ash simply tried to comfort him, as did Xander. However, Ash and the gang, Officer Jenny, Dr. Gordon, and Xander then had their attention brought up to the tower as they watched in amazement, seeing Caterpie start to glow and evolve into Metapod, which May examined on her Pokedex, because she had never seen a Metapod before. Despite Caterpie's evolution, though, Metapod just stayed on the tower, not moving an inch. At first, Brock was concerned, wondering what the fuck Metapod was up to, and suggesting that they should probably do something to get it off the radio tower so it couldn't be a risk by accidentally falling off to the rest of the townspeople. But Brock then realized that Metapod likely wanted to go to a safer vantage point, since it knew that it was going to evolve, and it figured that this tower would be the perfect spot, since Butterfree usually evolved into Metapod almost immediately after. So Metapod was probably getting prepped as a Caterpie for both its evolution into Metapod and its evolution into Butterfree, and if it was up on the tower, then it could easily just fly off when it became a Butterfree. Brock also noted that it seemed like Metapod wanted to deal less damage when it evolved, being super big, thinking that maybe when it evolved on the ground, it would be dangerous, so that's why it went up to the radio tower in the first place. This led Xander to conclude that the rare caddy had not made Metapod entirely mindless, so it could still be reasoned with. So he tried to beg Metapod to come down, but Metapod didn't. So Xander tried to tell Metapod that he needed his help immediately, so it had to come down. But Metapod didn't even seem to hear him, and as Xander further examined Metapod, he found out that it actually fell asleep, likely getting ready for its evolution into Beautifly, but that just meant that it couldn't hear him at all. Meanwhile, as for Team Rocket, they were standing on a miniature tower on the other side of the town, having blasted off there, and when they got up, they watched amazed at the evolution Caterpie had experienced since they last saw it, noting that it looked very powerful now. Even though they were impressed with the Caterpie's strength, they were also depressed that they didn't have any of the rare candies to make any of their Pokemon gain the same strength that Caterpie had. And James was so depressed that he fell onto the flooring of the tower. However, Team Rocket cheered up when Wobbuffet held out its hand to reveal the 3 rare candies which he had managed to grab before they were all blasted out of the lab. Much to Team Rocket's delight and surprise, but they wanted more of the rare candies, so a now motivated Jesse, along with James and the elf, came up with a plan to kidnap Dr. Gordon and take him to Team Rocket headquarters so that he could make inventions and more of the rare candy for Team Rocket, so that Team Rocket could essentially get an army of supersized Pokemon, and in turn, that would mean a huge promotion for all of Jesse, James, and Meowth, and Wobbuffet, so they cheered at this, along with Wobbuffet. Meanwhile, back by the tower that Metapod was on, Jenny begged Gordon to do something about the giant Metapod, and asked him how he planned to deal with it, leading Gordon to admit that he wasn't sure, and he had to think. But as he was thinking, Team Rocket arrived, interrupting his thoughts. Team Rocket immediately follow up by doing their motto, which James's Chimecho joins in on, and then they declare to Dr. Gordon that they were going to make him a Team Rocket member, whether he liked it or not, and he would help Team Rocket by giving them all of his inventions. Gordon looked confused, wondering how Team Rocket even knew about all of his inventions in the first place, since they didn't have the chance to look at his blueprints. But with Gordon distracted, Meowth took the opportunity to extend a mechanical claw, not to capture a Pokemon, but rather Dr. Gordon, and they dragged Dr. Gordon towards them. Ash, knowing that he needed to save Dr. Gordon, told Pikachu to use a combination of Thunderbolt and Quick Attack on them, but before Pikachu could do this, James sent out his Cacnea, and ordered it to use Pin Missile, and thankfully for him, Cacnea didn't prickle James first for once. However, Pikachu just continues to use Quick Attack, using it to dodge a whole bunch of the Pin Missiles. But eventually, Pikachu couldn't avoid all of them, and one of the missiles managed to hit Pikachu and send it flying back. With Pikachu down, Jessie saw her chance to jump in, and sent her Dustox out. Jessie also threw all 3 of the rare candies at Dustox, but only 2 of the rare candies reached Dustox, and the other one accidentally landed in Cacnea's mouth. So, since Dustox and Cacnea had both injected the rare candies through their mouths, they grew to the same size as Metapod, towering over everyone else, much to everyone's shock. James, of course, tries to take advantage of his huge-ass Cacnea and tells it to attack Ash and gang, but Cacnea had other things in mind, and it simply just turned around and stared at James lovingly before finally hugging it, realizing that he had failed to hug James earlier, and since Cacnea was so big, not only did it prickle James, but it caused James to crash into the ground, being crushed by Cacnea's weight, even causing a little hole in the street in the shape of James's body as a result. James somehow manages to get back up, and to prevent Cacnea from ever doing what it just did again, he recalls it to its Pokeball, which in turn turns Cacnea back to its normal size. Then the gigantic Dustox flies to the ground, and Jessie quickly runs over to it, dragging the captured Dr. Gordon behind her, determined to escape. James tried to come as well, along with Meowth, but James was really lagging behind due to how sore he was, so Meowth simply had to tell James to hurry up. Eventually, all of Team Rocket, including Wobbuffet, managed to jump on Dustox, and Ash tried to get on Dustox as well, before it flew away to stop Team Rocket, but he failed. So, Dustox flew away, with Team Rocket and the captured Gordon on it. Just then, Metapod on the tower could sense that Gordon was in trouble, and it managed to channel its worriedness for Gordon by evolving into Butterfree, much to Ash and the gang, Xander, and Officer Jenny's shock. As they scanned Butterfree with her Pokedex, Xander was thrilled to have a huge flying Pokemon of his own that he could use to chase Dustox, and asked Butterfree if it would help him rescue Dr. Gordon by catching up to Dustox. Butterfree agreed, and Ash said that he would go with Xander too, so the two of them hopped on Butterfree and flew off after Dustox, determined to get Gordon back and defeat Team Rocket. Meanwhile, while Team Rocket and Gordon were on Dustox, Gordon wasn't terrified of Team Rocket at all, instead just admiring the view and commenting on how impressed he was that Dustox was able to grow so big. Team Rocket tried their best to intimidate Gordon by telling him that he would essentially be a Team Rocket slave for the rest of his life, helping them with their plans using his inventions, but Team Rocket was cut off from talking when James noticed that Ash, Xander, and his Butterfree were closing in on them. Gordon was amazed to see Xander flying on the gigantic Butterfree, although Team Rocket didn't want to be around Ash, Xander, and his Butterfree anymore, so Jessie quickly ordered Dustox to go faster, but Xander just did the same. Jessie then told Dustox to fly above Butterfree, which it did, and then use a poison sting, although Butterfree was able to dodge this. It was then revealed that May, Max, Brock, and Officer Jenny were following in Officer Jenny's Jeep, right behind Butterfree, although the poison sting, since Butterfree had dodged it, got directed at the ground instead, and May, Max, Brock, and Officer Jenny practically got hit by it a little bit, even with Jenny's great driving skills. Pikachu then uses a Thunderbolt on Dustox while still riding on Butterfree, but Dustox managed to dodge this, frustrating Ash, as he gritted his teeth. But just then, Ash noticed some steel electrical towers with power lines, and he got an idea, telling Pikachu to use Thunderbolt on them. And sure enough, this affects Dustox, since it had flown down very recklessly in order to avoid the power lines, because if it didn't dive down, it would fly right into their path directly. And while trying to fly underneath the power lines, Dustox lost its balance a bit in the process. And while Officer Jenny, May, Max, and Brock commended Ash for this strategy, Ash saw a chance to have Xander and his Butterfree attack, telling Xander that it would be best to do so. And with that, Xander tells Butterfree to use Supersonic, while Dustox wouldn't be able to fight back. And of course, this confuses Dustox, also confusing Team Rocket as well. Apparently, due to the effects of the Supersonic attack, Dustox instantly shrunk back to its normal size, indicated by the glowing light enveloping it again, and sure enough, it was small again. Obviously, much to Team Rocket's dismay, Dustox was no longer big enough to hold them and Dr. Gordon on it, so they all fell off and started helplessly plummeting toward the ground. Team Rocket were even more stressed out and annoyed when they saw Xander call out to his Butterfree and Dr. Gordon, telling Butterfree to save Dr. Gordon, and Butterfree obliges, therefore bringing Dr. Gordon on to itself with Ash and Xander, while Team Rocket, on the other hand, complained as they fell into a lake. Well, it could have been worse because they were also on track to fall into a forest, but they just barely missed that. Xander and Ash then helped Gordon out of his little restraint thing, while Team Rocket were revealed to not have drowned and just barely managed to claw their way out of the water and onto shore, while Dustox circled them overhead. Jesse, not wanting to admit defeat, declared that they were just going to kidnap Dr. Gordon again, but just then, Officer Jenny, along with Brock, May, and Max, appear, having cornered Team Rocket in their Jeep. Jesse wasn't worried whatsoever, though, even when Officer Jenny officially declared Team Rocket under arrest, and she simply just told her Dustox to use Psybeam on May, Max, Brock, and Officer Jenny. Even when Officer Jenny mentioned that this attack could go under another criminal charge alongside their kidnapping attempt, but before Dustox could actually get the Psybeam off, Butterfree appeared, and Ash and Pikachu jumped down from it when Butterfree was close enough to the ground, and Ash and Pikachu used Thunderbolt on Team Rocket, who was still standing in the water, so this Thunderbolt did even more damage. Then, Xander committed Butterfree to use a whirlwind, sending Team Rocket blasting off, along with Dustox, who was also hit by the Thunderbolt. Ash congratulated Xander on finishing off Team Rocket, when suddenly, the light appeared around Butterfree again, signifying that it was shrinking, and soon enough, it returned to its normal size. Much to Ash and gang, Xander, Jenny, and Dr. Gordon's shock. Jenny then demands that Dr. Gordon lock all of the rare candies away in a safe at the police station or some shit, so they couldn't cause any more terror, but Dr. Gordon reveals that he didn't even intend to invent the candies. They were an accidental invention. Basically, a failure, and he wanted to try and fine-tune these candies to see if he could make them have a better effect on Pokemon instead. So, with that, Officer Jenny permitted Dr. Gordon to keep his rare candies so long as he only experimented with them inside of his lab, and Dr. Gordon agreed. Xander then said that he was happy Butterfree was back to normal, because that meant that they could train together and go on a journey together. And he was very excited to do this, as he hugged Butterfree, and they commented that Butterfree and Xander sure did have a good bond. Ash agreed and said that if Xander and Butterfree could become strong, then if they happened to meet again while on their journeys, they could battle. And Xander agreed, excited to become an actual Pokemon trainer. Without further ado, Ash and the gang said goodbye to Officer Jenny, Dr. Gordon, Xander, and his Butterfree, and set off towards Saffron City, with May excited for her first Kanto contest there. While Brock, Max, and Ash thought about everything that had happened today, and Ash expressed his hopes to see Xander and his Butterfree when they were stronger. Yeah, I doubt that's gonna happen.